Hello guys, hope you're well and welcome to our update. Thursday is going to be an interesting day. US Markit PMI figures will be out. It's the numbers for August. And remember that the numbers we received earlier this month for July were not very good. What we're going to pay attention to is manufacturing and the manufacturing index. According to the chief business economists over there at Markit, apparently the US manufacturing sector entered into its sharpest downturn since 2009. As well, what is interesting is that for the second time in 10 years, the manufacturing sector has said that they are losing jobs and not creating jobs. As for the numbers coming out this week, the economists are looking for a decline from 50.4 to 50.5. It's not a big deal, but always when we go below levels like the 50 levels, they're rather symbolical, and people use that as a reason to sell the markets. And we'll begin with the manufacturing PMI by itself. You can see here how close we are to the 50 level. Now, for you guys that are new to the Markit PMI figures, when we go below 50, that tells us that the manufacturing sector is contracting. In fact, with this reading here, which is not slightly, it's not actually below 50, rather it was 50.4. That number by itself, according to Markit, that is the company that produces these reports, they said that the manufacturing sector was contracting with an annualized pace of 3% with this reading here. And again, if we trade below it, it will be a level we haven't seen for quite some time, and would indicate that the US manufacturing sector is not doing too good. Now, what is influencing this? Well, it's not just there's not just a lot of high demand domestically in the US, as well as in from export orders. Now, if we take a look at the composite is doing slightly better. Why? Because the composite also includes the services PMI. And you can see that the gray bars here is annualized GDP growth, and the line here is the composite, which is again a combination of manufacturing and services PMI. And you can see here it's actually not that bad, and it sort of implies that the US economy is growing with about 2% annualized. So it's not that bad, but obviously we want to see what's going to happen going forward, because if you look at some of the numbers coming out from the rest of the world, it's not looking that encouraging. So how can you potentially take that information and translate that into a trade? Well, let's take a look at a few charts. So this is the dollar versus the Japanese yen, and this is a daily chart. And you can see that this pitchfork has done a rather good job in explaining the move here since the market started to trade lower in April 2019. Now the market sort of bounced off from the lower levels of this pitchfork, and it's now back at rather neutral levels around the median line here at 106.74. Now, if the numbers coming out, the Markit PMI figures being stronger than expected, then we could potentially see the price moving above something like 107.19. But then maybe from 107.62, I suspect traders are going to look to go short again. If that level doesn't hold, then in worst case, we go all the way up to 108.55. But to get that sort of rally, we probably need a significant good number. And as well with the Federal Reserve, they will also need to try to tell us that they're not going to cut interest rates in September. The way the market is positioned right now, they do anticipate a rate cut with 100% probability. The question is more if they're going to cut with 25 basis points or 50. But again, a majority there is just anticipating a 25 basis points cut. There's also other markets here what are interesting. And the one is gold. As you know, I've been bullish gold for quite some time. The market itself is rather overbought, and it's sort of struggling to trade much higher, which makes perfect sense because it's rallied from its low here in May. The market is right now up with 18%, and at one point was up with 20.69%. So a little bit of a pullback as well. So if the numbers are good here again, I think we might potentially see a little bit of a push to the pullback to 1460, maybe 1440. But as long as you trade above 1400, I think we're going to remain bullish. Now, obviously, if you want to be selling dollar yen or buying gold, it has to do as well what your outlook is going forward. My personal view on the world economy is that you're seeing a contraction right now in Germany, and the Centec index and the SEV index tells us that German economy will continue to underperform going forward. You also have a contraction in the UK, and with Brexit coming up, it's quite likely we're going to have another contraction. Now, neither contractions here are very, very big, but there's definitely a contraction going on. If you look at industrial production figures from China, it's not looking that good either. They contracted. We had those numbers out last week as well. And now if you look at the US, at forward-looking indicators, they're all sort of telling us that we're seeing an economic slowdown. It might not necessarily translate into a recession or so right now, but the numbers are not looking very, very good. So my personal view is that probably gold will continue to be supported. And again, if the numbers out from the US this week, if they're really good, again, you can see gold pull back. In fact, I think gold is going to pull back independently on the number. And then in the case of the dollar yen, it's a little bit more mixed. It might just turn lower from these levels, but if the numbers are really good, we might go upwards a bit before heading down. As always, you need to make sure you don't risk too much on any individual trade and have a line where sort of you say stop. For me, that line is 109.03 for the dollar yen. If we trade above that level, I would see this downtrend as over. And in the case of gold, if we trade below 1401, I think that's a good reason to be very, very careful with long positions if we trade below this level. Okay, guys, this concludes today's market update. If you have any questions, you are most welcome to reach out to me. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Alejandro Zambrano. Thank you.